This week, the revolutionary Mitsubishi GDI engine in disguise. Why bus lanes are annoying Mike Rutherford. The extraordinary new Jaguar XKR. And Chris Goffey on a kit car company that is going from strength to strength. This week on Motor Week.
I'm here at the Honda plant at Swindon in Wiltshire for the official line-off ceremony for the Honda Aerodeck. Oh, that's a state to you and me. The Aerodeck is the third model to be built here, joining the Accord 4-door and the Civic 5-door. What's unique about the Aerodeck is that this is the first Honda ever to have been completely designed, financed and built within Europe.
Why was the decision made to open the plant here in Swindon? I mean, it could have been anywhere really in Europe, couldn't it? What were the factors that were involved?
I've asked that question often. The prime reason is that the Japanese and the Brits culturally can communicate well. In a funny sort of way, we understand each other, and there's a comfort level. I think our Japanese colleagues feel comfortable, maybe the language in Britain, and I think if you spoke to all the associates here, they feel very comfortable working in this environment.
I mean, we're seeing the Aerodeck here, which is the first car that's been totally built, financed and designed in Europe. That must mean that things are going well at Swindon then?
Excellent, really excellent. As Mr. Edo said, we're now up to 109,000 last year. We'll achieve 150,000 manufacturing this year. That's a tremendous growth from only producing cars in 5 years.
Last year, 100,000 cars came out of this factory, and by the end of '98, Honda hope that that figure will have increased to 150,000 cars rolling off the production lines. So that means more jobs, and it also means a great boost to the local economy, as 90% of the Aerodeck's parts will be supplied from within Europe.
We're now in the process of recruiting another 400 staff here in Swindon now, with the view of taking our total staff level up to just under 3,000 people into next year. That is a huge impact in Swindon.
Teamwork is a key word here at the plant, and there are no bosses and no workers. Everyone is an associate, and each associate, no matter what their job, wears the same regulation issue overalls and baseball cap. Management offices aren't tucked away in plush suites on the top floor. Nope, they're right next to the production lines, with large windows overlooking everything, to encourage the sense of we're all in it together.
Okay, less of the culture. It's time for your physics lesson. Come over here. Right, won't keep you long. No chance of detention after this one. But if you cast your mind back to the 70s, when flares were big and your sideburns were probably even bigger, cars used carburettors to get the fuel-air mixture into the cylinder. In the 80s that changed. It became multi-point fuel injection, where the process took place in the intake manifold. So things were getting a lot better, better economy, better performance and better emissions. In the 90s we're looking to improve that even further, and Mitsubishi have come along with the direct injection engine. It doesn't look that much different, but underneath it's very revolutionary. This is the first engine that actually mixes the petrol and air in the cylinder before combustion. So you've got even better emissions, even better power and even better economy. It's good news, it's from Mitsubishi. But until now it's only been available in the Mitsubishi Charisma, which lacks charisma to say the least. It's always been an engine crying out for a good home, but has it found it now under the bonnet of this Volvo? Now the S40 itself hasn't been without its problems. When it was first launched we complained about the engines were too noisy, the ride wasn't very good and the general build quality wasn't that special either. But Volvo have worked away and they're gradually putting things right. This is the S40 saloon version, but Volvo also do a V40, V for versatile, estate. In true Volvo fashion, that really is truly versatile, very easy to use, good load capacity and it's good looking, as this saloon is as well. As you come around the back of the car, we have a look at this little badge. The little eye shows you that there's something special under the bonnet. Volvo can't use the GDI name, so that's all you have there to show you that there's something special under the bonnet. Having driven V40s with the 2 litre and 1.8 16 valve engines, I can say that this is a much better engine in the car. Not only does it emit fewer toxins, but it's more economical, and it's also more pleasant to drive. They've got a Mitsubishi gearbox in here, which is smooth and efficient, and the engine itself is smoother and freer revving. And when you're cruising at motorway speeds, there's less of the harshness that's associated with the 1.8 and 2 litre 16 valve motors. Volvo are past masters at creating a superb driving environment. All the controls here are very easy and nicely laid out, and they have a good feel to them. My only complaint about the cabin really is this, what looks like fake elephant hide on the dashboard there. It reflects in the windscreen and can make visibility a little bit difficult towards the lower end of the windscreen there. The driving position is first class. The wheel here adjusts up and down and the seat has plenty of adjustment. Not only that, but these are without doubt some of the finest seats you'll find in any car in any class. On the motorway on long runs, you'll get out as refreshed as you would do in, say, a Mercedes S-Class. And for a fraction of the price too. There's plenty of space in the back too, more so than the likes of the Ford Mondeo or Vauxhall Vectra, even BMW's 3 Series or the Audi A4. So back passengers there, they won't be complaining. Mitsubishi are only letting Volvo have 2,500 of these cars in the UK, so Volvo will only be selling it in one specification in SE trim. So it's going to be nicely equipped with air conditioning, leather seats and the like, but you're going to have to pay around £17,000 for that. Quite a lot maybe, but this is without doubt the best model in the S40 range. Unusually for a Volvo, this is a great looking car, and that's what's been pulling numbers of buyers to the S&V 40 in their droves. It's also got the traditional Volvo characteristics of safety. In the Euro NCAP comparative crash tests, this was the only one to get the maximum 4-star rating, and that's been pulling buyers in as well. So are Volvo getting it right with the S40? Well, I think by and large, yes. They've made a lot of improvements to the ride, handling and refinement, and now with this new engine under the bonnet, it's competitive in that department too. It's always had space, practicality, safety and looks on its side. Now it's more than a match than ever for the likes of the Volkswagen Passat and the Ford Mondeo.
Now, we're in a regular commuter route into the City of London, and just a few yards up the road here we'll come to a bus lane that has just been installed. Never used to be there till recently. The reason it's been put in is to encourage people to get out of their cars and onto buses. The problem with this bus lane is it doesn't just operate between 7 and 10 in the morning and then 4 and 7 in the afternoon, as most sensible bus lanes do. This one operates all day long, so if you avoid the morning rush hour and you decide to drive into London for whatever reason, as I'm doing now around midday, 12:16 to be precise, can use the bus lanes. In fact, because of these new rules, it means that if I do dare to enter the bus lane just after midday, I'll get a ticket. That's lunacy. Yes, let's have the bus lanes, but let's restrict the number of hours that buses have those lanes exclusively for themselves. 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, 6 hours a day seems fair enough to me. But on the other 18 hours of that day, let car drivers, van drivers and everyone else use them.
Now this beautiful classic Jaguar represents 50 years of XK sports car history from the Coventry manufacturer, dating back to 1948 when the first XK engine was introduced into this XK 120. And over the years Jaguar have produced some wonderful cars, the XK 140 and the XK 150, one of my particular favourites. And then a couple of years ago Jaguar introduced the XK8 to much acclaim. Now if 290 brake horsepower isn't powerful enough for you, if getting to 60 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds isn't fast enough for you, well, your prayers have been answered. Your dreams have come true, because now Jaguar introduce the XKR. Okay, cards on the table time. I've always been a big fan of Jaguar cars. I've only ever owned one Jaguar, an XJS, 9 years old, which unfortunately had to go recently due to far too many ominous sounds coming from under the engine and goodness knows where else. But thankfully those days of Jaguar reliability problems have long gone, and the XK8 has gone on to become the fastest selling Jaguar sports car of all time. Well, now the stakes are up considerably with this XKR. Now, the new XKR really is drop-dead gorgeous. There are no other words to describe it. And the main visual changes you'll find over the XK8 are this mesh grille at the front. You get these two bonnet louvers, which are vital to aid engine cooling. There's also a discrete boot spoiler, again to aid stability, particularly at high speed. And these new huge 18-inch alloy wheels, all subtle, all discreet, but stunning. But it's here under the bonnet where you really need to look. Yes, it's that 4-litre AJ V8 engine, recently introduced to the saloon range, with of course the addition of the supercharger, those Eaton supercharger, and it's even faster than the XJR saloon. Power from this engine is a whopping 370 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, and a top speed limited to a mere 155 miles an hour. It would go quicker, I'm sure. This is the fastest ever mainstream production Jaguar. That supercharger delivers an extra 80 brake horsepower over the normally aspirated XK8, a car already voted the most beautiful two-seat luxury model in the world. And you can't argue with that, can you? Now, having a car like this with all the comfort, the refinement, and at the cost that this XKR is, really makes me wonder why on earth anybody would want to buy an Aston Martin DB7. The cars are so very similar. They're both quick, they're both supercharged, but the Jaguar is a heck of a lot cheaper. And I drove a DB7 fairly recently, was really rather disappointed. It wasn't as quick as I thought, and it was a manual gearbox which was very difficult to shift, whereas with the Jaguar XKR you get the choice of an automatic. And that suits me fine, because all you have to do is floor the throttle, the supercharger winds up, just listen to this, and you go. Whoa! So, what else has changed over the XK8? Well, the engineers have modified the suspension, the steering, the braking and the tyres to optimise the performance of the XKR. Computer-active technology suspension is standard, and this helps to optimise ride and handling in all conditions. It gives excellent body control, particularly at high speed, with a consistent, slightly firmer low-speed ride. Jaguar will be producing around 1,500 XKRs a year, and the UK should see around 500 of those. Now, if you want one, the cost over a standard XK8 is over £9,000. And that means that the cost of the XKR is £59,300 for the coupe, £66,300 for the convertible. Inside the XKR, it's a typical Jaguar. Lots of wood and lots of leather. Standard specification is very high, including a sport leather pack, the wood leather steering wheel and the wooden gear knob, a CD auto changer and a 10-speaker stereo system, cruise control, power fold-back mirrors and a headlamp power wash. Now, Nick, what was the main reasoning behind introducing the XKR?
Well, really, because people had said, you got a supercharged engine in the saloon, what will it do in the XK8? And we put it in, found out it did an awful lot. So we're really responding to public demand, I think. And
you're pleased with the way that it's all turned out? And how long has the actual project for the XKR been in development?
Well, very, very quick. Originally, we planned this for 18 months into the future. And then the engineers said, boy, we'd really like to do it quicker, and they pulled this ahead by 18 months. So it's only been, in fact, 18 months in development. So very quick program, great lot of teamwork by the whole XK8 development team.
The XKR is a sports car that's a Grand Tourer and vice versa. Customers wanted an XK8 with more power, and now they've certainly got it. The competition should certainly be worried cars like the Mercedes SL, the Porsche 911, BMW 850 and perhaps Aston Martin. They can't match the XKR for performance. The only car that does come close is the Mercedes SL 600, but that's £40,000 more. So Jaguar have come up with a great all-round package in the shape of the new XKR.
After the break, Chris Goffey takes a quantum leap into the world of kit car manufacture.
In my experience, kit car manufacturers tend to come and go with alarming rapidity, but Quantum here have been in business for 13 years now, so they must be doing something right. They're approaching the 1,000th car they built since they started. This is their latest product, the H4, launched at the Kit Car Show last year to a rapturous reception. They've already sold 80 of them. Now, Quantum is run by the three Wooldridge brothers, and Mark here is responsible for business and finance. Mark, what's the H4 all about?
It's a car we've designed ourselves. It's a fun car, great to drive, nice to look at, in fact very nice to look at. But underneath the skin, it's all standard Ford mechanics.
So the idea is what? You buy yourself an old Fiesta?
Yeah, this one's based around the Mark III Fiesta, which is 1990 to 95. So you could be buying something that's only got, say, 20,000 miles on the clock, 3-4 years old.
And you'd use a lot of the components from it?
Almost everything, yeah.
And then, what, buy a body shell from you and bolt it all together?
As simple as that, yes.
How long would it take somebody to build one?
It really does vary a lot. We quote around 200 hours.
But, I mean, someone like me, if I'm not confident in my skills to build one, can I buy one ready-made?
Yes, I mean, we do like to do that as well. We probably do 3 or 4 a month of built cars. I mean, the big advantage of that is the customer can come in and get involved a lot if he wants to, or not at all if he doesn't want to.
The cost of that?
It does vary, about 12 to 15,000 we quote. Some people can go more. We've got one that's getting towards 20 that's on order at the moment, but that's something a bit special. And
the build quality, I know you're very keen on. I mean, the shuts and the finishes look very good on this car. Did that take you a lot of time to achieve?
Yes, it does. In designing the car, I mean, the design of this, it's done by my brother Harvey. It's 2.5 years, 50 hours a week doing nothing but designing. And really half of that probably is just making sure all the detail is right. In a way, we have to be very good. The word kit car sometimes has the wrong kind of connotations, and we almost have to be better than some of the production cars to be seen as good. It has to be right, and as you can see yourself, it is.
Now, you've got a Ford engine and gearbox and front suspension there, and a Ford rear suspension here. What's holding the two ends together? Just fiberglass?
No, this one, some of our other models do have just fiberglass, they're monocoques. This one's a chassis car, which we've designed in-house. We have it made outside. It's a very substantial chassis. This isn't sort of a racing car for the roads, if you like. It is very substantial, it's safe, it's going to be long-lasting, it's very solid on the road. Those are the kind of features we've gone for.
Sort of would be the same sort of safety criteria as a production car?
We say that ours is as safe as something like your big cars, your Volvos, your Saabs, your Audis.
Quantum's first model was the Saloon. They've built over 300 and they're still building 1 or 2 a month. The Saloon was followed by the 2+2. Again, 500 sold so far and still going strong. And the latest model, the H4. So why aren't convertibles as popular as they might be in the UK? Well, of course, one answer is our weather. The other is that the traditional canvas and stick hoods are either difficult to erect or a perfect target for a vandal. Quantum's answer with the H4 is this. Remove the centre panel. And the rear here is on gas struts and pops out the way. Now, I have to confess to being a bit nervous about driving some kit cars. You're never quite sure if the guy who screwed the brakes on was having a row that day. No worries with this car though, it's built by the factory. certainly feels very rigid and secure, as it should, with a big steel chassis bolted and bonded into the body structure. And the Fiesta parentage is very evident in the trim, the steering wheel, steering column, instrument panel, even these side panels and the gear change and handbrake. The pedals, everything is Fiesta. And with the rear section up, both side windows up, but the roof off, it's amazingly draft free in here. With the standard Fiesta XR2i engine under the bonnet, you wouldn't expect the performance to be breathtaking, but it's a light sports car, so it really keeps well up with the flow of the traffic. And if you want to be a hooligan, well, it's satisfying from that point of view too. Road holding, well, spring settings are always difficult when you take a production car's suspension and you bolt it into something different, and for my taste, well, it's a bit softly sprung. The tyres tend to squeal a little bit too easily, and if it was my car, I'd probably have stiffer dampers fitted, but nevertheless still feels very safe and secure on the road. Major manufacturers spend millions of pounds on development and then engineering and build quality, so it's asking a lot of a small company like Quantum to match them. Nevertheless, by using as many Ford parts as they possibly can, they've achieved remarkably good levels of trim and build quality. Okay, so a second-hand Mazda MX-5 is pretty severe competition, but if you want to stand out from the crowd, build yourself a Quantum.